Help support Friendo Club by going to patreon.com/Steven Larson or clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Access to bonus episodes, question threads for the Going In Raw podcast, and entry to our monthly wrestling predictions challenges. Join the Friendo Club today. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, we've got your Who Killed WCW review. I'm sad they didn't basically just do a shot-for-shot remake of the movie Clue, Larson.
Who would have assumed the role of Tim Curry as Butler in this?
Oh, I think that's probably Eric Bischoff, right? Didn't the Butler do it in one of the versions of Clue? Anyways, we'll talk about that later. Who Killed WCW, not Clue. Also on today's episode, could WWE buy TNA? Is that happening, Larson? We're going to talk about that. Plus, we've got your NXT review, and we'll be answering your questions. But first, a couple of you asked us to do this. I've seen a bunch of discourse about it online. Who Killed WCW Episode 1 from the creators of Dark Side of the Ring and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Most of the discourse I've noticed about this online is basically, do we need this? Given that this is sort of familiar ground that's been rehashed since the demise of WCW.
Several times, and then you can make the case that the most comprehensive telling of the story of WCW is Guy Evans' Nitro book, and he's one of the interview subjects.
Yeah, which I thought was a great
It's
move.
a great call, and I understand watching a 3 or 4 part miniseries, an hour a piece, to kind of get the general idea of the story surrounding the demise of WCW is probably more digestible than Guy Evans' comprehensive and pretty massive book. It's about yay thick.
It's a thick book, and it is, if you're a wrestling fan, really hard to put down. It is.
Yeah.
I cannot recommend that book enough.
But I wonder if this series, it's interesting because obviously Vice has and Jason and Evan, the producers of Dark Side of the Ring, have made Dark Side of the Ring one of the cornerstone properties of the Vice network. I mean, they have so many other series now thematically very similar to Dark Side of the Ring. Mm-hmm. And not just the wrestling ones. There's Dark Side of the 90s, and there's all sorts of kind of spin-off shows.
Yeah.
Trying to tell stories about particular time periods or particular industries. It's not even including Tales from the Territory, and now Who Killed WCW? My question is, obviously Guy Evans' book is for wrestling fans.
Yeah, sure.
They'll be the ones that really dig deep into the minutia, the everyday ins and outs of what happened backstage and WCW led to the demise. Whereas this obviously would have some interest to wrestling fans, but I wonder if one of the primary reasons it was produced would be to introduce this story to maybe lapsed fans, people who think back of the WCW days fondly, who might not keep up with the current product, who might not follow wrestling, or even people who are just into Vice's programming, who may have very little interest in pro wrestling, but I see The Rock attached to it. It's a story about involving Hulk Hogan. Two of the most famous names ever come out of the world of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that is kind of the angle they're taking with it, as opposed to adaptation of the book Nitro, even though it covers many of the same beats.
Well, also to speak to the question, and you're digging at it too. Is it necessary? I think you hit on it exactly right. The audience for this are not. It's not necessarily, although I think it includes guys like us, guys who are approaching 50 years old.
Oh dear.
I know, I hate saying that, but it's been a while since this is ground that has been tread. I don't remember the last WCW. I mean, there's the WWE produced DVDs. There is, like you said, the Guy Evans book. Brian Alvarez also wrote a book about it, and So, I do think that, it's so funny after I've seen this. I've read about this a little bit about how pop culture time seems to be a bit more compressed these days. So you and I might remember documentaries about this produced by WWE, but those dropped like 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever it was. And so, I'd say, my question would be, isn't Eric Bischoff tired of talking about this? Well, the guy's got he's got a whole podcast about it. Seemingly no, right?
90% of his business endeavors that I'm aware of involve him reminiscing fondly about those 83 weeks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so much of what he does from a business perspective. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's tired of talking about it. If anything, he probably wishes he could talk about it more.
Yeah, because it's probably where he gets his money from. Yep. It'd be like if somebody made like a, Who Killed Machinima show. And then we were brought on there endlessly. So, I don't know. But between that and like sort of Dark Side of the Ring, which I don't know, I think in a roundabout way might have covered some of this stuff among the various episodes. I'm trying to remember like when they would have brought that up, but there's been so many of those. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's
they did episode of Bash at the Beach 2000.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I think it is interesting ground, even if it's stuff that we've heard ad nauseum. And there's some snark out there I've seen from people being like, well, Jamie Kellner, he was the executive at Turner after the merger that had the authority and seemingly the desire to get rid of WCW programming. Guy Evans' book is incredibly interesting in that it does dive into the the specific business process by which WCW ended up getting sold to WWF, and right down to Eric Bischoff trying to play the game of insinuating to, I think it's Fox Sports, I've got WCW the property, and then him finding out, or the dude at Fox finding out that he didn't actually. And so I'm really curious to see if they dive into that minutia over the next, I think it's a 4-episode series, I want to say.
All right.
There was like a million ads for it, and I didn't pay attention to one of them because I was in the middle of watching episode 1. But I think it's a 4-episode series. But whatever. I'm curious to know, like, because the answer eventually ends up becoming kind of boring, but I get the philosophy that was stated by, I think, Kevin Sullivan in this first episode. WCW died from 1,000 cuts because, like so much, wrestling is one of those weird things where so much of the business depends on the creative, and that's entertainment for you.
Oh yeah.
But with wrestling, it's that soap opera thing where week to week to week to week, it's a unique medium. It's not like, hey, we made this one killer movie and it did gangbusters and it saved the studio for the year.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how long is it going to take to get this to turn around? Guy Evans had a great point in this, in that he mentioned WWF. One of their most fascinating years was 1997, when they went from, just bored ass crowds to, by the end of 1997, to crowds that are really into what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it only takes that amount of time. So I did think that there was some interesting stuff that maybe I had heard before, because there wasn't like a ton of like new ground, but there was some new context in some of this.
Yeah. So, to kind of summarize, what the first episode was about, it was essentially the rise of WCW, and them overtaking WWF in the ratings, and the first little creative misstep, not little, major creative misstep that could have been seen in hindsight as a harbinger of things to come was, of course, Starrcade 97, where they'd spend a year and a half building up Sting to be the guy to take the belt off Hogan, and they fumbled the landing. Sting was supposed to go in there, win clean, and we've heard this story from, I think, at least Hogan's perspective. We hear it here from Bischoff, mm-hmm. where they sit down and have the meeting with Sting about the finish of the show, and as Bischoff tells it, Sting just didn't seem into it. He wasn't enthused about what was to come, and so he looks at Hogan, and Hogan just says, "Not today, brother." And so Bischoff speculates that Sting was expecting Hogan to pull the creative control card when he walked in that meeting, and as Bischoff puts it, seemingly laying the blame at Steve Barnes' feet.
That was I fucking laughed out loud. Dude, I laughed out loud when he essentially said it was Sting's fault because
Sting manifested his own worst nightmare. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was expecting Hogan to screw him over. So he walked in, and Sting, and as Conan said earlier, Sting's not the guy to politic. And I've always took, and you can take that to mean also, Sting's not going to come in with a poker face. You know, he's always seemed like the kind of guy who kind of wears his true feelings on his sleeve. Whenever you see an actual Steve Borden interview, he seems like a very genuine guy.
Yeah.
So he comes in expecting to get screwed. And then he gets screwed. And Bischoff says, well, you walked in expecting to get screwed. And so you made it happen. What the fuck? One of the more interesting things, and it was such a small thing, but I had never heard it explicitly before, even though it might seem kind of obvious, is that Bischoff looked at Vince McMahon and how he was a guy who was into long-term booking. And he had the 18-month thing for Sting kind of planned out in advance. We're going to do this we're planning to have Sting out of the equation, just the specter of Sting, and then him attacking, getting more involved for that extended period of time. And I thought that right there was, okay, Bischoff did pick up on something that a lot of people I think would miss, and that's the importance if you want to pay off those big storylines. And boy, not to drag this into it, but it did give me, and I'm curious here to know what you think about this. It did when Bischoff would talk about the competition that he had in him. Man, he wants to show up Vince McMahon. He wants to take down WWF.
I have a stake through Vince's heart, he says.
Yeah, which even he admits was like kind of over the line. But when he talks about that and says, we're gonna do this, that, the other. In terms of the long-term booking of WWF, we're going to basically take from what they did right. Meanwhile, WWF in 95, especially 94, 95, they were making some wrong moves.
Oh, yeah.
And so WCW was taken from the best of WWF in order to say, hey, they're doing this. We want our own version of the big payoff. If you're AEW right now... Aren't you looking at WWE and thinking, we want our bloodline? We want our way to pay that off simply from a business competition standpoint.
An interesting thing, I can't remember which executive said this about Eric Bischoff, that Eric was focused more on ratings than ad revenue.
Brad Siegel said that, yeah.
Yes, that's right. So obviously... Brad Siegel, as an executive, he wants the show to make money. That's his focus. Eric Bischoff, as the executive producer and later on vice president, his focus is, you would think, on the quality of his programming. And it's not a leap to think if your show is good, as WCW was often in late 96 and throughout 97, then the ratings will come.
Yeah.
But... if the idea is we need to get a number as opposed to tell good stories, which would lead to numbers, that will alter your creative philosophy. And we've seen that in AEW where there's times where it seems like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to bring this person in and have a debut to pop a number as opposed to let's tell an interesting story.
Yeah.
So, yes, you can view Who Killed WCW as a potential cautionary tale for AEW, in that if Tony Khan is solely focused on popping a number for a rating, not building up to moments and then paying them off, that's going to be a problem. Because pro wrestling is a storytelling medium, and if you're not into... And here's the thing. You can tell stories in the ring. That's one aspect of professional wrestling storytelling. It doesn't have to all be interviews and promos and backstage segments and stuff like that. But the modern pro wrestling language, as developed by WWE, is so ingrained in a lot of people's minds. That's how it's supposed to be presented. And it's difficult to distance that from what could be a new approach to it potentially. But the thing is, it's not like Tony Khan is reinventing the wheel. He's not reinventing the language of professional wrestling storytelling.
Yeah.
You know, it's he's found an approach now that focuses so much on the performances and not so much on telling involved stories with those performances. That makes sense. So much of his booking is, I want to have a good match right now. And you can tell a story within the context of that match that could be captivating.
Yeah.
But what sometimes is missing, and they've done better over the last 8 months or so. Not to say there's still not room for improvement. Obviously there is. What really brings that to another level in terms of emotional resonance and connection with your audience is having a story that exists in the ring and outside of the ring.
Yeah, it's I've said oftentimes it's the various ingredients that make up the entertainment form of pro wrestling, you know, and I get one of my takeaways also from this, and it's sort of just hammered home, you know, the complacency with which WWF acted in, you know, post the purchase of WCW, and you see just how quickly the creative goes downhill because there isn't. And say what you will about WCW, and this is going beyond what was presented to us in this episode, and we'll circle back around to it because there's a couple other little bits and pieces here that I thought were new and interesting. But say what you will about WCW, yes, it might have gone into, you know, the reeking of desperation phase, but desperation is you're trying. You might be completely misguided in your attempts to give an effort, but the effort was there. Even hiring Vince Russo. Vince Russo, in retrospect, was a terrible idea, but at the time, the driving force of some of the more interesting ideas in WWF unfiltered, that's actually a really good move. It's just there was no way to know that he was going to come in and be awful. You know, it's in retrospect that you can say, okay, well, he provided ideas that were then tempered by McMahon or, you know, given some pro wrestling sensibilities by a Jim Cornette or whatever the case was with those ingredients in the writer's room. But, you know, with WCW, an attempt was always being made to try to out WWF, much to their, you know, at a certain point, obviously to the detriment, because they stopped focusing on what they were doing right, and they were just trying to do Attitude Era, and that just did not work at all for WCW. But if you think about within this episode, going back to it, what they were building and how they were building it had nothing to do with responding to WWF. They were just doing things the way they thought, the way Eric Bischoff thought would work best, and using Hogan and his presence as sort of a springboard for that. Now, did Bischoff pull from inspiration? Sure, of course he did. But, you know, you can't deny that a lot of what he did and the ingredients that he was taking, the actual, you know, meal that he was cooking up there, to beat the analogy into the ground, was a pretty decent one. And for that period of time, people were really, really into it. Yeah. It's just, you know, and when he says, you know, the I forget how he put it, but, you know, the delicate nature of continuing on that success is such a tricky thing. And I believe that, just because we've been paying attention to this stuff for a long time now. And from the dawn of Dynamite, I always asserted booking this week and next week is one thing, but what is it going to look like 6 months from now? When is the attrition going to happen? 3 years from now? You know, when is it going to be, okay, let's just get through this week? Well, you start adding programming, and then you're just compounding things. Yep. And that's kind of what happened at WCW as well. It's going to be interesting when they get to the introduction of Thunder. Yeah. Because Bischoff looks at that as like, man, I was already stretched to the limit. Now we have to do this. But no, I don't know. I mean, I don't expect, Tony Khan doesn't seem to be, you know, the most self-aware guy in the world. So I don't know that he would ever look at this and pull anything from it. But, you know, maybe there's something here to be gleaned if he wants his company to, you know, grow. Yeah. As opposed to maybe what it's been doing as of late, which is the opposite of that.
Well, it's been kind of treading water for the most part. Not a lot of growth. Stagnation.
And honestly, I kind of feel like if it's not the thing where if it's not growing, then it's you're losing interest. But getting back to this, I did think there were a couple other interesting tidbits that and there were kind of relatively small things that I thought were interesting. I think one of them was when Nash, with the production changes that they made, when Nash brought up, one thing you should never really try to do in wrestling is backstage fights because they come off as so cheesy. And by the way, the editing in this is amazing.
It's really good.
Down to when Bischoff talked about calling Hulk Hogan, and so I reached out to Ric Flair, and then it shows a segment on whatever Flair's talk show, Flair for the Gold. Was it? Wait, was that what it was? I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
Where he's answering the phone.
Yeah.
And then it shows Hogan with the phone. They edited the B-roll that was used in this was incredibly clever.
Yeah, it was.
But when they were like, hey, we're in the middle of a match, we just want the NWO to show up. And so everything becomes kind of handheld herky-jerky. Jimmy Hart's like, hey, they're here. And it goes backstage. And then, Rey Mysterio's like, hey, Kevin, can you throw me through that window? No, it's a window. You'll die. So I just, we decided to lawn dart him into the side of the truck. And that aspect of it, and Nash, recalling, Hitchcock type production moves, I thought was really interesting in that there was a concerted effort. And you always appreciate those moments of inspiration where you find something that all of a sudden just clicks and it just works. And it's a sea change from what you were doing before that didn't work. And for that period of time in WCW, it did seem like there was a lot of that where it's like, man, we're really doing something kind of innovative here. And when the producer brought up Hill Street Blues as an inspiration, I was like, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, it seemed pretty clear at that juncture that Bischoff had a vision of what his product was going to look like.
Yeah.
And he wanted to strip pro wrestling to a degree of the artifice.
Mm-hmm.
That had been historically the norm, not just in WCW, WWE, and wanted to bring it a more reality-based presentation. And I liked what Nash said about, the worst thing you do is have a backstage fight because you have someone punching and they just go, ugh. And it highlights the artifice of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he brings up Hitchcock and saying, you show the aftermath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Or the tail end of the attack. And you see everybody laid out, blood on the ground, weapons strewn all over the place. And your mind's going to conjure up more powerful images than they could ever show about what just happened there.
And what's funny is that as soon as he says that, and I don't know if this was on purpose or not, as soon as he says that, they cut to that backstage segment of them actually striking like Van Hammer or something. I forget who it was.
It was
Scotty Riggs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was Scotty Riggs.
He had his American Males vest on, yeah.
Yeah, right. And but no, I thought that was awesome. I thought that was exactly the right move. And again, it's one of those things where they're moving it forward. I was actually kind of surprised because even and it's funny because we're thinking of doing a count out episode on shitty WCW ideas, but up until the finger poke of doom, which was I think what was it? It was it early
January
99?
of '98.
No, it was 99.
Sorry, 99. Yeah,
yeah.
My bad. 99. Yeah. As soon as I said 98, I knew I was wrong.
Which was a good, 6 months after. I maintain that at that point, I think it was for a lot of people, it was like, okay, this is jump the shark. That seemed to be the jump the shark moment. But up until then, they had a real opportunity to do some really cool shit. And even maybe past that, if Kevin Nash, if they really explored like, man, I laid down for that guy. And then you have another power struggle. There could have been more stuff they could have salvaged from that, but that moment alone was, oh God.
That moment alone was awful, and we don't know what would have happened afterwards had Bill Goldberg not put his fist through that car window and tore up his wrist, Because that was supposed to be the idea. NWO gets back together full strength. Mm-hmm. Goldberg has to feud against all of them. I understand the rationale behind it in terms of using the entirety of the NWO to build Goldberg up to another level. Mm-hmm. Execution, obviously, with the finger poke of doom, not good.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But they never even got the opportunity to do that because of the injury to Goldberg.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Who knows how that would have played out. I do find it was interesting because like Conan was talking about how him and Disco Inferno would sit backstage and watch, Austin and Rock. And it makes me wonder, like, when was that? Because I don't know. I thought WCW was incredibly watchable up until like the finger poke of doom. And I thought there was a lot of good stuff. Now, obviously at that time, I know you and I were both bigger WWF guys. Like once Austin got the title, I was like, oh, this is way cooler. Like this is much more sense of urgency stuff. And I understand that Austin and Rock were big deals, but I don't know. I liked a lot of what was going on in WCW at the time. So I'm kind of surprised. And maybe the context is key, and Conan was talking maybe after when things were clearly going down.
That could be. There was no time frame for reference in terms of when he was talking about. That's for sure. But you bring up Conan, I think that's kind of be for me the most interesting aspect of this mini-series, limited series, I guess, is hearing all the different perspectives. And they set up really nicely in this opening montage where they have some B-roll from the last Nitro. And they do a quick cut of Goldberg, Bret Hart, Booker T, Conan, Bischoff, several more, interview subjects, Kevin Sullivan, and all telling little snippets of their perspective about what led to the downfall of WCW. And there's a lot of finger pointing going on. Oh, it was Bischoff, his executives, his talent. And that's going to be interesting to see, is everybody make their case why the fall of WCW is not their fault, it's someone else's fault. Yeah.
It's you're right. I mean, it would be interesting if they were able to get a couple more Turner executives, specifically Jamie Kellner, because people do sort of lay the blame as the guy who was in charge, who didn't want wrestling, and he got rid of it. It would have been interesting. I mean, if it's just maybe a dollars and cents thing, it was bleeding money.
Maybe they will once they get to the point with the AOL Time Warner merger.
That could be, that could be.
Once they get to that point in the story, maybe they will. I don't know.
Yeah. But no, they allude to it several times early on. They mentioned that other than Ted Turner, there wasn't an executive in Turner that wanted wrestling, but he was the head honcho. And it was losing like $10 million a year. But Ted Turner was, rich, and he had like, enough money to keep that going because he liked it. It was like he was running it out of spite, basically. Like people didn't like it, and he liked Outrageous What was it? Captain Outrageous.
Captain Outrageous.
The nickname that he had. Brad Siegel, I think, was saying that he didn't want it either.
Well, there's one of the executives talking, saying that if he did anything to try to help improve WCW financially, it was seen as, I think he said, career suicide.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like you would be actively punished within the company if you did anything to try to help WCW. Yeah.
Would you have been, given that we were a little bit probably older than the age range that we're looking at, but Ninja Stars, the laser the poor man's laser tag. You can't afford the cool lasers. You get a vest of Velcro and some cheap-ass Ninja Stars to throw at each other. Would you have been a fan of that as a kid?
I would have given it a try.
I think I probably would have played it for 15 solid minutes and been done with it.
Yeah, and then put it somewhere with the rest of the toys that didn't get played with a whole lot. Yep.
Yeah, right. And then like one day, hey, man, let's play that Ninja Stars game. Where's the other stars? We only have 3 stars here.
We can't do it with 3. Mom!
3, Mom!
Brother lost the other star. And then next yard sale, it's out for sale.
It's out for sale, yeah. Only has 3 stars. It's like a WWF match for Dave Meltzer. But yeah, I thought that, there was also, to sort of flip the Conan disco thing, The Rock, who had just like, a couple of, maybe he'll have a little bit more. But I feel like he was simply there for the star power aspect.
Yep, because he didn't add a whole lot.
He didn't add shit. There was one thing that I wrote down here from what he said. He was like, yeah, we should do more of that. And so, but no, that to me, again, is with Rock saying that about when WCW was doing well, and Bischoff referring to WWF with what they did well. We want Hulk Hogan. We want to do long-term booking. We want to take the good aspects of it. Again, I'm thinking like man, if you're AEW right now, because you look at a business that just doesn't have a lot of positive momentum going for it, and it's like, why wouldn't they be looking at something that is successful and be like, hey, even if it's like within the context of we still want to be where the best wrestle, is there stuff we can do to, like you're in a, and it sort of throws back to what Punk said about them. And I know he's got his own perspective, but it's like, it's not a business about making money. It's a business about putting on really good matches. And that's not a real business. Now, it's his perspective, and I'm not saying that. If they get this TV deal, they are going to be making money.
Yeah.
So what do I know? But I don't know. Like, I know you and I are always here thinking of like, okay, well, how can we improve our business? This is our money. This is our bottom line. This is how we pay our bills.
We certainly don't do this as a job to produce good podcasts. I think that's pretty evident.
Hey, I think this is where the best podcast, Larson. But no, I mean that's sort of part of it. We're always thinking, okay, how can we make podcasts better? How can we make video better? And because in theory it would improve, our business, our money. And I wonder if it's an aspect. I wonder if it's an aspect of, dude, there is a difference, and this is something. Motivation.
Yeah.
WWF was how Vince paid his bills. That's how it was him.
Yeah.
Ted Turner ran WCW kind of like, oh, I'm just going to run this because I enjoy it. It's a good hobby. And if it goes away, guess what? I'll still be fine.
Guess what? WCW Ted Turner was like fantasy football.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. No, that's
if
exactly
it does well,
right.
hey, I win the championship. I get the winner's pot for the season. On to next year. And
with Vince McMahon, that's the maniacal. Oh, I've got to succeed at all costs because it is it's my entire life. Mm-hmm. With Ted Turner, he owned basketball teams, baseball teams, cable networks.
The small line item in his portfolio of enterprises was WCW.
Right, exactly. It was his
way down at the bottom.
And it's different when you already own, for example, a football franchise, whatever else the Khan Empire has. I forget if it's tech or whatever it is. And you got to wonder, like, is the motivation there to, hey, I want to make mine number one as a business in this industry. I want to make mine number one. And I wonder, if it's a matter of motivation. He's already got billions of dollars. Is it just an E-Fed to him, or is he like, no, I want to make this the best thing there is? And I'm not saying one or the other. I'm not questioning the dude's motivations.
Yeah.
Other than, when you look at somebody and what they've got going on, I do think that there is a difference there. So I don't know. It's just interesting watching two powerhouses sort of at play, because it's like when Bischoff comes to Ted Turner, or Ted Turner's like soliciting ideas, and they do that little bit where Bischoff is like freaking out on the inside, and they they cut to like Bischoff sitting there while they're setting up a light or whatever.
Yeah.
As
if the internal monologue where he's freaking out.
Yeah. And he says, what do we need to compete? I always got the idea that Ted Turner was like, hey, how can we stick it to Vince even more?
Yeah.
Not necessarily, man, we got to get this WCW number one, otherwise I can't eat. It's, you know what? Let's get this expansion pack. Bischoff, what do you got for me? What's the DLC? Well, move to and one thing that I don't think has ever really been asked, or maybe it has on Bischoff's podcast, I don't know, but like, was Wednesdays never explored? Was it always like we need to go head to head to bring them down, or was like a different night ever on the table as a strategy?
I don't recall. I haven't read all of Nitro, but I've read the part about the birth of Monday Night Nitro, and I don't recall any serious conversations about them kind of considering another night. I mean, obviously the way Bischoff presents it here is we got to do what they do, just do it better. We got to compete directly with them,
we've heard Bischoff throughout the various documentaries. He's always apt to, interested in talking about it. And every single time he recounts basically the exact same story. He goes in there, Bischoff, what do you need? Well, they're on Mondays in prime time. We're on Saturday in a shit collision spot. And so Ted Turner's like, hey, go get him 2 hours on Monday. And then seemingly Bischoff just leaves,
And he gets 2 hours and has to now figure out what he's going to do with 2 hours on a Monday night. Yeah.
With his legal pad. He doesn't stop and say, okay, well, hold on a second. Maybe if we just do, Tuesdays instead, or if we do Wednesdays, we establish our own beachhead, our own base of operations, as opposed to having to compete directly with them and worry about, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But no, seemingly it was just Ted Turner said, give him Monday, 2 hours, live. And then Bischoff left. So I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing that it wasn't more thought out than that. Let's just fuck with USA. But I guess that was the thing. They wanted to hurt USA. TNT wanted to be number one.
Yeah, there was a executive that talked about that too. About
I think that was Siegel as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. The competition that TNT had, which they had developed TNT to be their prestige brand.
Yeah.
And that's why there was some resentment about bringing Nitro over there. But also they wanted to elevate TNT so it could do better than USA Network. And if they can come up with a wrestling program that could outdo USA's wrestling program Monday night, well, guess what?
Yeah.
That's a good case for TNT to be the top network on basic cable.
Number one. Let's talk about this for really quick before we wrap up our WCW review. Starrcade 97. Bret Hart says, when this idea was brought to me, I thought it was crap. And, the fast count thing. I remember being a fan, and it's funny because, they're trying to rope in the early internet wrestling community into this.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I honestly, and I even remember, on one of Pritchard's podcasts talking about, we just felt like if the internet thought we were doing it wrong, we knew we were doing it right.
Yeah.
And Bischoff and Pritchard, they're kind of peas in a pod, always have the same opinion about the internet. They don't know what they're talking about, even though that's fucking literally their bread and butter.
There's one point a couple points, I think, actually, one point for sure, where Bischoff kind of rolls his eyes and just goes, wrestling fans.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's like
the contempt. I don't know any other industry where the people who run that particular industry have such contempt for their fan base.
I don't think it exists. I really don't. It's nuts to me. But yeah, no, I got that as well. But, Bret said it was crap. Eric Bischoff kind of he was like, at the time, in the moment, it seemed to go over pretty well. Like the crowd popped. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. If I recall correctly, the follow-up to that was that next pay-per-view was like a dumpster fire of a match as well.
It was Hogan Sting, the rematch, and Hogan beat the shit out of Sting for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then Macho Man comes at the end, costs Hogan the match.
Yeah. So I always look, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't on wrestling internet back in 1997. Starrcade 97 was literally, I think, the first pay-per-view that I went over to Nate's house or whatever. And everybody was there, and I watched it with you guys. And I remember watching, and when Bret Hart came out and was like, that was a fast count, I bought it. I was like, oh, God, yeah. Well, Hitman says, whoever this guy is, 'cause I don't even know who he was at the time. I was like, whoever this guy says, he seems to be a big deal. I think he's probably right. It's probably a fast count then. And then Sting won. I was like, oh, man, cool. What a great payoff. Now that I've started watching.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me back then. I didn't really put two and two together that, oh my God, this guy must have politicked his way into a normal count. That story beat doesn't make it. Nowadays, if we're sitting here watching it, you and I would both be, what the fuck was that? That wasn't a fast count. Why is he out there? We'd be all over
watching at the time because I thanks to Hilton, I got back into wrestling with WCW.
Yeah.
Probably late 96. So I was watching all through 97.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I remember watching that with you, wherever it was. Didn't seem like a fast count.
Yeah. Oh, you do. Oh, so yeah. You're already plugged into that. I was brand new. I think I was watching. I started watching because I would go over to whoever's house, Jeff's or Nate's or whatever, and that was sometime between August of 97 and probably November of 97, because I do remember when Bret showed up for the first time and being like, I don't know who this guy is, but understanding that he was a deal. But I remember in like August of 97, driving with Nate and Jeff down to LA to check out the CSUN, what was it called? The orientation day. And the car broke down and we ended up in like a Motel 6 or something, and an episode of Saturday Night was on. And that was like the first thing that I was like, oh, this is what they watch. Mm-hmm. And so then, I started coming over and I was like, oh, cool, right on. But yeah, at the time, I'm with Bischoff on that one. At the time, I didn't really give a shit. I was like, oh, cool, what's next? And they did a weird thing where the title was up it was vacated, and then they went to the next pay-per-view. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of not that big of a deal. It was the booking afterwards. It was the follow-through that really blew,
Yeah. Yeah, if they had just kind of went full steam ahead with whatever plans, if they had plans, and not acknowledged the 3 count, just move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's a better way? What's a better way to what's a better way to book that Bret Hart wouldn't have called it lame?
Just have Sting win clean.
Catch as catch can.
I mean, just go with the original plan.
Sting, I think Nick Patrick.
Even if Sting showed up in that meeting yawning, looking at anything other than Bischoff or Hogan,
he's on his cell phone
reading the magazine. Yeah, he goes to the future, brings back a cell phone. He's playing Snake on his Nokia brick. I don't care.
Yeah.
You go with the original plan, and if the Nitro afterwards it seems like it doesn't work, then you pivot.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You need to have that payoff.
Yeah. The general idea, I disagree with Bret on this one. I think the general idea of the fast count from the NWO ref, I thought it was kind of a cool idea.
One thing they should have done, though, was have Nick Patrick wearing obvious NWO stuff.
Yeah, right.
Not like an NWO shirt, but like an NWO referee shirt.
Yeah, right.
You can even have the regular shirt, NWO badge on the pocket. You know what I mean?
Not even NWO badge. It's WCW, but it's got a little spray painted X.
There you go.
People
Cross it out.
What's wrong with that logo right there? Oh, it's spray painted.
Because if you don't know the story about Nick Patrick being in the NWO's pocket, then you think, well, why is that a fast count? Why is he fast counting that?
He should have low blowed Sting. Just made completely obvious. Then you're not worried about all that stuff. I don't know. Nick Patrick should have sacked up though, man. Told Hogan, doesn't work for me, brother. It's gonna be a fast count.
Yep.
Then he'd be looking for a job. Anyways,
speaking of WWE buying wrestling companies like they did WCW.
There's
been a lot of chatter of late. I woke up this morning.
Oh yeah.
Drinking my coffee, perusing social media, looking for news to talk about today.
Oh, yeah.
And rather than a lot of news, I saw a lot of people discussing the idea of WWE buying TNA. Oh. As in, a lot of people, I'm not talking about wrestling journalists. Obviously, no one's reported on it. Just conversation amongst wrestling fans.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are pretty convinced.
Oh, yeah.
That's in the works, and I wonder, obviously, Jordan Grace getting involved in NXT is a part of it. You hear about potential backstage turmoil in TNA with executives getting laid off, no TV tapings scheduled after early August.
Right.
A lot of uncertainty from the TNA side of things, seemingly from an outside observer. Mm-hmm. We're not there. We don't know what's going on.
We have no idea.
And given WWE's own history of purchasing wrestling promotions, and not to say this is a perfect analogy because it's not. I don't think it's any sort of analogy. But, there was a time when WWE had a working relationship with Evolve.
Sure.
And they kind of used that as a place to send NXT talent to get some more reps.
Mm-hmm.
And even sometimes they'd have Adam Cole show up there and have matches,
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it was absorbed into the greater WWE wrestling empire.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that. There's how WWE handled the creation of NXT UK.
Do you know who the final Evolve champion was, by the way?
Wasn't it Josh Briggs?
It's very good. Josh Briggs. There you go. He should bring back that title.
Yeah. I would understand why people would think WWE might be interested in procuring the TNA brand.
Mm-hmm, sure.
If no other reason, it's the tape library.
Yeah, I wonder. So, The tape library is an interesting thing now because you don't hear about that stuff as much. And I wonder if it's because once the Peacock deal became a thing, if the tape library aspect of their business became less of a deal because, let's be honest, Peacock probably like 90% of what they give a shit about. And going forward,
stuff.
Yeah, it's the pay-per-views for now. It's the live premium live events that they have. Not to say WWF, they still produce documentaries, but that's an incredibly long game plan because the people in TNA now, if they end up going to WWE, the documentaries on those people aren't going to be made for 20 years. But there's plenty of people AJ Styles obviously is probably the key one right now.
Yeah. I can't imagine WWE producing a AJ Styles documentary in 5 years after he retires.
Mm-hmm,
and you're going to get a lot of footage. You get the WCW, the handful of WCW matches he had when he was Air Styles, some indie stuff. And there's going to be a massive gap of about a decade where they're not going to show any TNA or New Japan stuff, and then he shows up at WWE. There's so much of his story that would not be able to be told in an efficient manner without some of that footage. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's probably, something that they would like. Because I'm kind of curious, okay, well, what else would they use it for besides another developmental brand to go with NXT, if that's something that they're interested in? Or is it on top of all that, hey, this is somebody or this is a promotion that a possible collaboration that we've already seen in the past that is widely viewed as one of the more successful aspects of AEW's history. If we take TNA off the board, given that AEW is friendly with a lot of other promotions, take that off the board. That's one less prominent promotion in the States that AEW could work with. Yep. And thereby killing some of the buzz that they could potentially generate. I don't know if that is even factors into what they would consider if they wanted to buy TNA. I simply don't know.
And I wonder if it's less an outright purchase of TNA, maybe more an arrangement like WWE had with ECW in the mid-'90s, where they would partially bankroll the promotion, send some talent there to get some reps to work on character stuff. But I think you're onto something with. For a while, WWE lacked the cool factor.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's one thing AEW had. It was the upstart promotion. They were open to work with anybody. When they got into the partnership with New Japan, it was exciting because we were getting dream matches we never thought we'd ever get, or the possibility of dream matches we never thought we'd ever get. But just the concept of national pro wrestling promotions working together is exciting for fans, and it generates a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Mm-hmm. Jordan Grace showing up on NXT is cool.
A home run. Yeah.
Yeah. And if they're trying to rehabilitate the image of WWE as the hip, cool wrestling promotion amongst wrestling fans, this is the type of stuff they would probably want to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one thing that WWE, and it wouldn't shock me to see it happen in the next 2 years, is if WWE somehow finds himself in a working relationship with New Japan, and then New Japan would be kind of forced to exclude AEW from any working relationship, that would be incredibly interesting. And that could really hurt AEW. That's why when we talk about this WCW stuff, if you're AEW, you need to really focus on. I mean, I don't know. Again, if they get a big TV deal, none of it's going to matter because for 5 years they'll be set. We used to talk about, what's the next TV deal going to look like for WWE because their product is crap, and then it just ended up getting bigger and bigger money.
A massive. There's such a premium placed on live events, especially live sporting events.
Did you see? By the way, and we can kind of pivot into this because we're talking about New Japan, and we didn't even talk about this beforehand. Hiroshi Tanahashi's.
Oh, it's 10-point plan.
The 10-point plan, Larson. Can I proffer it to you and see what you think about all this stuff?
Sure, yeah. I read up on some of it, but
I have it here. This is a transcribed or written up here by Chris Samsa on Twitter. I just brought this up. Research and statistics for New Japan Pro Wrestling on New Japan Global and New Japan World, occasional pro wrestling stats and info contributions in various other places. I'm going to give him a follow right now at the Chris Samsa. And he has a long breakdown here.
Oh, wow.
So here's the 10-point plan for Tanahashi, President Tanahashi, to bring New Japan Go Ace back to prominence. Number 1, talent discovery and development. Young talent should wrestle in more high-level spots, but wrestlers need to still earn their spots in tournaments like the G1. New Japan want the best wrestlers in their early 20s in Japan.
I mean, obviously, right now they're in a rebuilding phase, losing Jay White, Ospreay, Okada.
Tana's talk about how he appreciates what NXT does with their young talent, because, boy, there are some good wrestlers coming out of the Performance Center.
There are.
Number 2, I like this one. Elevating the value of title belts. It's important to clarify the role and concept of each title. Strong titles will be defended on USA shows only going forward. Company acknowledges the tag titles are about to be combined at Dominion. The company acknowledges that 13 titles may be challenging to follow, and that process may take between 12 and 18 months. Yeah, fewer titles.
Yeah, generally speaking, that's a good idea.
Which would you strike immediately? Which would you combine?
I mean, I don't know what, like the never open weight titles. They're not even branded the same way as the rest of your title belts.
Yeah, right.
They're not IWGP belts.
I never even understood. What does never mean?
I don't know.
Okay, number 3. Reducing/eliminating outside interference. This entire thing, it says the company acknowledges, so
where
this is going.
dismantle House of Torture is what
It says the company, a lot of talk and questions about whether House of Torture is the reason for this goal. The company acknowledges the fans' frustrations regarding House of Torture. Their company acknowledges that pro wrestling is unique when it comes to wrestlers turning things in their favor any way they can. It's the House of Torture point.
Yeah. They're going to institute a House of Torture rule, huh?
Yes, it seems like it. Let's see here. This is interesting, though. It says they haven't determined concrete penalties, but interference will be limited. What penalties?
They're going to fire somebody if they interfere in a match?
It's all story. All right. Number 4, increasing the prominence and status of New Japan Hontai. Tanahashi wants Hontai to be a desired unit for young wrestlers or wrestlers returning from excursion. I don't know what Hontai is. Okay, moving on. Number 5, strengthening ties with Stardom. Probably
Makes
a good
sense.
move. 6, strengthening their ties with AEW, which might fly in the face of what I was talking about. Says New Japan is happy with their relationship with AEW. However, there is a perception that New Japan is treated as a sub-brand.
This I saw, yeah.
Or looked down on by AEW. Some of that perception of New Japan being behind comes from the economics at the moment. But the truth of the matter is AEW strengths and New Japan strengths are different. From development of talent from scratch to a historical and traditional perspective, there's a lot New Japan can offer that AEW cannot. So basically the LA Dojo and their tape library. So there's a lot that we can do together, and while much of it isn't something we can discuss right now, there's a lot we will do, but the idea that New Japan is the inferior partner is not correct. We are absolutely on even footing, and that's something we'll prove in the near future. Question for you, Larson.
Sure.
What title is going to main event the Forbidden Door?
That's going to be the AEW World Championship.
That is correct. Number 7, improving the live fan experience. Ideas for this include different prices, different pricing tiers, female-only seating sections. What is going on at these shows? Moving on, special food menus. Glizzies.
All right, now I'm give me that one.
Give me a House of Torture Glizzy special.
There we go.
Let's see here.
It's like a regular hot dog with all sorts of condiment options around the outside, just waiting to interfere on your hot dog.
Oh my God, that's good, man. That's good. Number 8, improving New Japan World. Yeah, please do that.
Yes. That user interface needs a lot of work.
The first bullet point here is an apology. Apology for the clunky transition. Archive should be complete by the end of the year. Live viewing has been fixed / improved. I haven't watched New Japan Live in a long time.
Probably since Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah, definitely since Wrestle Kingdom.
This one, 9. These next ones are kind of throwaways. 9 is improved treatment of personal information. Apologies for getting that USB drive stolen and lost. Apparently, it was a USB drive with like my information on it. It was like all the New Japan World info on it.
Yeah.
And then plans are in place to keep data safe going forward. Probably don't put everybody's info on a lone USB drive.
No.
And then finally, 10, New Japan sponsorships. And it just says thank you to sponsors. So Tanahashi got his legal pad out, Larson.
Yeah.
Do you like out of 10, what score do you give this 10-point plan?
Well, I mean, it hasn't come to fruition yet, so it's hard to give a score to something that hasn't been implemented fully yet.
Gotta wait 12 to 18
Once
months
I
for
see
that.
the sample menus they have at the shows,
That
then I'll
will
be able to give a
exclusive,
fairer
yeah.
score. If the House
you
of
wanna-
Torture Dog, then yes.
Yeah. Do you want to run through the NXT results really quick? Because
Let's do it. Ethan Page. Ethan
It was
Page is NXT.
kind of like a fallout from last week's episode.
Yeah, it wasn't the most
wasn't the
intriguing
meatiest
episode of NXT. They tried to do a through line of, will Ethan Page sign his contract? Will Ava sign his contract? Because he has such outrageous demands, apparently.
Okay, so right before the end, when Ava finally signed, she said, I can't sign this, Trick. Trust me, the stipulation is too crazy. And then Trick was like, he wouldn't let her talk, and then she just signed it in the end. Because she was like, if I sign this, and Paige cuts her off and says, if you sign this, or if she signs it, your era is going to be over, and I get my first match in WWE at this Sunday. But was there like a crazier stipulation that's yet to be revealed? Because it seemed like she wanted to say something, and then Trick cut her off.
It seems like there would be, yeah.
So I wonder what that, if that's the case, if that's the point they were trying to get across.
That could be. I mean, as far as Ethan Page signing the contract, that seemed a mere formality. Because he's in NXT. We know he signed a deal with NXT for realsies, you know.
What'd you think of his promo?
It was fine.
Yeah,
I think Ethan Page is a solid promo.
He's a really good promo. I think with him, it's going to be a matter of, okay, with Ethan Page, I think it's going to be, because he's got the look and feel of a main roster guy. I think he'll be good, and I think he'll be good in NXT. I'm kind of curious how long they're going to keep him there. If he's going to be, and I've said this before, what are they going to look at for NXT bringing people in? Are they going to bring in people who kind of should maybe be on main roster, but they want to load NXT up, try to make it like a real third brand, or what?
It could be a situation now where the worry would be, while Ethan Page is probably main roster ready in terms of understanding how televised wrestling is produced. He worked in AEW.
His brand's not there yet?
Exactly. I think his brand within WWE is not there yet. So
Yep.
if they want to set him up for greater success on main roster, establish the brand in NXT 6-8 months, bring him up then.
Yeah.
That would be
I
my
think
guess.
you're right about that.
Because while he was in AEW, I think he was a tag champion, maybe. Did they ever win the tag champs, he and Scorpio Sky? I don't think so, actually.
I think it wasn't just Sky like TNT champion while
I
they
think
were
you're right.
together.
I don't think they ever won the tag titles. They should have.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. They totally should have.
I guess in my mind, if you're a champion in AEW, you could probably go straight to main roster. That's kind of my perspective.
If you're like
Or a main eventer, one of the two.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a world champion, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Hangman Page, definitely. And then he's sort of like, I think, the lowest name on the list. And MJF,
I think if
course.
Darby, which would probably never happen with WWE, he'd go straight to main roster.
Darby goes to the U. He goes chase you.
Chase
Every student, every class, they need that one gothy kid, right?
They need, okay, fine.
So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like with Page, it's going to be what kind of stories are they going to book for him? Because I think he'll just really thrive in like a really, really good story. Because I think he's got everything else. It's just he's not like immediately the most compelling person in the world,
No. But, here's what I'm wondering, though, is apparently after NXT went off the air, Oro Mensah went to the ring and attacked Ethan Page. So it's a situation, we don't know if there's an extra stipulation for this match. I wouldn't be surprised if whether Ethan Page has a faction with them, something. Trick's on the verge of losing that title. And Lash, even though at the beginning of this episode said, Trick, whatever we got, it's over. If she convinces the rest of Metaphor to make sure Trick retains the title.
Oh, well, that's good, yeah.
Would not be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, I could see that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. So I think the match will be really good on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because it's speaking of which, we got our big predictions challenge starting this Sunday
weekend.
with
I gotta get that
Battleground.
form up.
Yeah, get the form up. It's a month of champions. You can participate one of two ways, but either way, you get the same thing. It's the Friendo Club setup. At patreon.com/Stephen Larson, you choose the Friendo Club setup. It's $5 a month. Or right here at YouTube, youtube.com/Stephen Larson, you click on join. That gets you the Friendo Club setup, access to bonus episodes. Just yesterday, we finally uploaded this week's Friendo Cast. We talked about what Desert Island music selections, CDs that we would bring with us if we were on a deserted island just by ourselves in a Sony Walkman. Also, Discman, I guess. And then this week, today, later on, we're going to record, and then we'll drop it probably late this week, early next week. Desert Island movies that we would bring with us, I guess, on DVD form.
Desert Island DVDs.
Desert Island Criterion Collection.
Oh, we're just doing Criterion discs?
No,
I gotta change my
everything's
list.
on Criterion these days, man.
On the streaming service, it seems like, yeah.
Dude, there's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to be doing that. So if you want those bonus episodes, you want access to our question threads, and, of course, if you want access to the Big Blue Predictions Challenge, which starts with Battleground, then sign up for the Friendo Club setup.
Yeah.
Also, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the notify bell, and hit that like button. We need those likes to get up there. We're hoping for 50% every episode.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a lot.
yeah.
Like for like if an normal episode is like 10,000.
Oh, yeah, like
5,000
5,000
likes.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. Probably a lot to ask, but I'll take it.
I'll take it. Heck yeah. Anyways, let's just jump right into it. So we're in the parking lot of the Performance Center. Ava's out there with security. She's awaiting the arrival of Ethan Page. Ethan Page does, in fact, pull into the parking lot in a car, gets out, and says to Ava, "Are you ready to make a deal today?"
You're ready to make a deal. Then we get a recap of what happened last week. Very eventful NXT. And then we get Jordan Grace's first match in NXT, this time versus the Twitch streamer Stevie Turner.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Her character doesn't seem like a streamer anymore.
But
Nor
her
is it- she had the Futuretron,
she had the Futuretron.
but she wasn't wearing the gear she was when she was from the future.
No. Her Tron said stream starting soon.
So they haven't changed her Tron yet, is what you're saying.
She had our waiting room. She has a waiting room for her Tron.
So they need to update the Tron because nothing about her character now is either from the future or streamer. It doesn't seem like
Oh, now she's just wrestler. Yeah.
she's wrestler.
And she lost pretty quickly here. Roxanne Perez was on commentary. She gets in the ring. They have a little back and forth, shoving each other. And then as Jordan sort of sets her up for a big slam, Roxanne's able to get out of that, gets out of the ring. Then we have Metaphor in the parking lot. Trick Willie walks up, asks if Lash has seen Ethan Page. He's going to knock all the ego out of him. And she's like, nah, he needs to be handled. I'm going to handle it. And then she's like, listen, Trick, this is a brutal way to break up with somebody. Whatever there is between us, it's over. She's like, I have a chance to be the first women's North American champion. He was like, oh, I get it. I'm happy for you. Do whatever it takes to get the title. I'm going to go take care of the Page situation. Then he gets out his phone and he gets on Tinder. And he's like, Trick Willie, about to load up on some strange.
After that, we go back in time to earlier in the day, and Sean Spears is teaching a class, Performance Center, apparently.
This class is terrible.
Yeah, I would not feel inspired by his teaching method whatsoever. So he says everybody here has got an exceptional background. Uriah, fourth generation superstars, but those are huge shoes to fill. Javon Evans is there, says you got all this athleticism at 20 years old. So much to learn in so little time. So Josh Briggs walks in, and Spears is like, "You have a problem?" And Briggs is like, "Yeah, I got a problem." Talking about, how does Spears describe something about like wasted potential essentially?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And Spears says, Briggs, you have to show the potential that you think you have. But I wasn't even you're not who I was talking about last week. And then Briggs says to all the students there, Spears is looking for someone to manipulate. And then Spears says, I want to know who the real Josh Briggs is. You're just showing your insecurities and your misguidance. And, of course, this upsets Josh Briggs. They're about to throw hands, broken up. And we'll revisit this later on.
To Spears' credit, you got to figure guys got to be pretty secure with themselves to wear that ridiculous outfit every goddamn week. I hate it. It's like my most hated outfit in
So the outfit's working in terms of getting heat from Steve.
Yeah, big heat. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't stand it. I want to see him get beat up in that outfit. Anyways, let's see here. We've got, after that, we have this North American Ladder Match Summit. I'm glad they kept this relatively quick. This did not really
stick
around too
trash
long.
talk and everybody making their case why they should win the ladder match, and no shock, it ends in a brawl.
Exactly. After that, this was my segment of the night, man.
Oh, this
I know
was
you
awful.
texted me and said this was awful, but it
is awful.
So Charlie Dempsey is sitting there, and there's a lot to unpack
This
here.
no quarter catch crew D'Angelo family is my leader for worst feud of the year already.
Hey,
It's
we got to put
terrible.
that down for Friendo Awards, worst
There we
feud
go.
of the year.
It's awful.
So Charlie Dempsey's the performance center. He's talking in a mirror, and he's doing his best De Niro taxi driver.
That was his best?
I think it was his best. I don't know why he's doing this. Because Taxi Driver
isn't a mafia movie.
It's not a mafia movie. It's not a mob movie. So Miles Bourne walks up. This was fucking funny because Dempsey says, were you listening to me doing this the entire time? And Miles Bourne, who's largely deaf, says, best as I could. I thought comedically speaking, this came off as amateurish, but pretty fucking charming because they're all trying. And I think they were all having a good time. It just came off as lame comedy, but not without its amateurish charm, Larson. It was like our old college movies.
It was like your opinion, man.
So anyways, Dempsey's like, hey, go get Damon. And then Damon Kemp steps in. He's like, I'm right here. He's like, isn't it weird we're talking to each other in a mirror? And then Dempsey's like, hey, I'm talking here, which is a reference to Ratso Rizzo. Again, I mean, he's a small-time thug in Midnight Cowboy.
But not a mob movie.
Not a mob movie. And then he's like, Kemp, I want you to win back the Heritage Cup and bring it back to the family. Capiche? He's like, say capiche. Kemp's like, fine, capiche. I thought this was lovely.
Maybe that's part of the joke is that Dempsey is referencing all these movies, but none of them are actually mob movies.
I guess so. I mean, that's the only thing I guess you can glean from it. He's like going across all the other, they're prestige type movies. But they're not actually mafioso movies.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe he just thinks that Tony D is an actor. So he's like, well, maybe that's the thing. He's like, hey, maybe he's on something. Maybe Tony D is just an actor trying out a character. And so Dempsey's like, well, I want to get my own character. So he's exploring other genres. Ratso Rizzo and Travis Bickle.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyways.
Then we're backstage. Andre Chase is hyping up Thea Hale in advance of her match against Jasmine Nix. But then Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne's like, we're not going to join you ringside.
The hell's with these guys?
And then she's like, what the heck? We all go out together.
She should.
And they're like, yeah, not this time. And so Andre Chase is like, I'll still join you ringside. They start making their way to the ring, and then Ridge Holland walks up and asks, can I come with? And they're like, yeah. And he looks back and sees Duke and Riley, and he says, are they coming? And Chase is like, no. He's like, all right, fine.
Ever since Chase was outed as a degenerate gambler, he's sort of just seems like he doesn't have the juice anymore, dude. He doesn't have that same pizzazz. He's just sort of...
I don't disagree with that, yeah.
He's just sort of apt to let his students do whatever the fuck they want to, and everybody's low in morale. That played out here in this match, Thea Hale versus Jasmine Nix. Duke and Riley do come ringside. Let's see here. So Thea puts a Kimura on Nix. She makes her way into the corner, but backs into the ref as well. Thea releases the hold, checks with the ref, and then as she turns back around, Nix hits a Pele kick to get the win. So hard times for Chase U, thanks to maybe Ridge Holland's bad luck.
Let's put up the U. That's
Sad
marker
U.
in my hand. Left.
Sad U.
I got a leaky marker here.
Upside down U because it's sad.
Oh, sad.
Sad U. After that, Ethan Page is leaving Ava's office. He says, I like the offer.
Goodness.
You're
Look at this marker leaking all over me.
It looked like you're doing your fingerprints.
I know.
Put your thumbprint here, please, sir. Ethan Page is leaving Ava's office. He's like, hey, cool offer. One detail I don't want you to forget about. She's like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to do that. He leaves. Stone walks in. Hey, Stone. Says, listen, I handled the 6-woman tag because at the end of that brawl earlier, Stone comes out, makes a 6-woman tag match for the main. He's like, I think there's a way to spice up the match. We can talk later. Asks for an update on Paige's deal. She's like, this guy's been a nightmare. And then shows off his list of demands.
Earlier, we had some iPhone footage of the Good Brothers attacking Axiom and Frazier while they're doing like a meet and greet in the merch truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Axiom and Frazier get beat up.
Yeah. We've got Josh Briggs's music hitting. The camera rushes backstage, though. Sean Spears has laid him out, tells him to show him something. I don't know what he wants him to show him. But then Javon Evans steps in.
How is he going to show him something when he's writhing on the ground going,
Yeah, well, I don't know what he wants him to show him, so I have no answer for that. So Javon Evans shows up. He's like, try to do that to me. They brawl their way to the ring, and then we get this awesome like springboard RKO from Javon Evans.
Gosh.
Which is fucking amazing.
Oh, it was so good.
It's pretty great. So he stands tall here at the end. Then we have a Tony D interview. He's like, hey, these cup matches are unique but demanding. I'm not particularly good at them. And then that plays out next because we have Damon Kemp versus Tony D'Angelo.
Well, one thing he said in this interview is says, Lucas schooled me on all the rules of the catch clause. Now the No Quarter Catch crew get to see what the D'Angelo family can do when they're in control. And this catch clause played no part in this match whatsoever. They did a little joke at the beginning where all members of the D'Angelo family stepped back. I guess that was a reference to catch clause because maybe one person stepped forward.
The catch clause is one simple thing. There's not rules to it. It's the Freebird thing. Any of us can vie for it.
I understand why he needs like a legal brief.
Yeah.
About something that could be explained in a matter of 5 words.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Anybody can wrestle.
Yeah.
4.
Any member can wrestle. 4 words.
4 words. Done.
And then it doesn't even come into play here at all.
Doesn't. No, it doesn't. No.
This match was one thing I like about the Heritage Cup matches, even if the outcome seems certain, is based on the format.
Mm-hmm.
There's avenues for drama.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
There really wasn't any drama in this match.
Well, Kemp did hit a DVD right as time expired in round 3.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a botch. It seemed
that
like
would have
was
just tied the match.
Mm-hmm.
If it had been something like, well, he would have gone up 1-0. That's something else.
That's a good point.
And then the opening of Bell at round 4, Tony hits him with a spine buster to win it.
Yeah.
It was short. Not a lot of drama.
Yeah. After that, we had an Ava interview where she's asked about contract negotiations. She's like, I want him to sign his contract in my office like everybody else, but he wanted to do it in the ring. Then Trick comes in, says, whatever he wants, give it to him. He must be out of his mind if he thinks he can jump the line and get a shot. After all the work we put in for this brand, Ava's like, he hasn't even signed it yet. And he's like, good. I'm going to be there to make sure he does. Then we have Jordan Grace backstage. Just some interaction. I like this. Mia Yim shows up and they're like, hey, what's up, bestie? Because they were in TNA together. I thought that was cool. They do the old, what's his face meme where he's like, who'd have thought we're here?
Oh, the Paul Rudd thing. Yeah.
Paul Rudd thing. Yeah. And then we get some interaction between Sol Ruka shows up.
Sorry, who?
Sol Ruka.
Thank you.
Sorry, there's a lot to get through, so I'm kind of speed running this shit.
That's fine. I could jump in if you want to get a good Sol Ruka in.
Sol Ruka.
She steps in, introduces. I'll take over, Steve. Introduces herself, and then Jada Parker steps in and says, "Stop kissing each other's asses." So Jordan Grace is like, "All right, yeah, fine. I'm gonna walk on," and Ariana Grace meets her and says, "You know, I'm pretty sure Roxanne's not thrilled about you walking out double champ at Battleground. I would know. I know her pretty well." And then Tatum Paxley walks in. She's like, "Oh, I really love talking about title belts." And Jordan Grace says, "You know, this title is the most important thing to me." And Ariana says, "You know, it's not to her. This crown is. Nothing's more important than that." And Jordan's like, "Actually, this belt is more important to me." And then she leaves.
Yeah. Then we had a video package, pretty well put together.
This was awesome. They did the Mortal Kombat stuff where someone's took a back fist to the face and there's blood all over the place.
Yeah.
And skull crushing and bones breaking. It was really well
produced. Yeah, this was really well produced. This was for Baszler and Lola Vice. And then we had Izzy Dame versus Natalya. Natalya got a win off of a roll-up. She was going for a sharpshooter, but Izzy Dame blocked it, and they started trading roll-ups. Natalya got the win here. Then we had an Axiom and Nathan Frazier interview. They're like, oh, man, after that brutal merch attack, you're going to be able to defend the titles? And Axiom's like, oh, good brothers aren't tough. And Frazier's like, tough is getting back up, kicking your asses, and retaining our titles. They're totally going to be the Good Brothers, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had here we go.
This is all you, Steve. I'm gonna sit here and listen to the sounds of you. Well, maybe it's best if I don't pay attention.
Probably a good idea on your part, buddy. So Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe are gonna have a match, but instead during commercial, Gallus beats them up. So Joe Coffey gets on the match and says, "Sorry, not sorry. Wrong place, wrong time. Move it in." And then Mark follows and says, "Now we're back at a full straight. Not like last week when Wolfie was banned for ringside." Wolfie says, "But it's all right for a sexy red to be in the corner and tricking you in." And then Joe's like, "See if that there is the problem. Can't do it." And then Mark corrects him and says, "No, Joe, that's one of their problems." And Joe's like, "See, maybe if we cared about TikTok, if we had 1 million, or if we took beach selfies or shook our ass up and down, play another sport, WWE Universe will respect us, Wolfie. You were there last week, we'd have had our starting lineup. We'd been another victor for God's crew." And Mark's like, "You're absolutely right, Joe. They don't respect us here. Don't even care about us. We're not here for online clout. It'll be social media influencers. We'll be professional wrestlers." Golly, this is a lot.
You asked me to do it verbatim.
Fuck, this is a lot, man. Anyways,
careful what you wish for. Apparently,
they just keep on going, and then they're interrupted by Obafemi, and he says, "Gents, it would be foolish of me to regard you three as anything less than dangerous. As a collective, you've caused chaos all across NXT. But Mark, Wolfgang, listen to me. If you can try to aid Brother Joe, but the outcome remains the same." And then he's interrupted by Wes Lee. And he's like, "In order for me to win my title back, I'm going to have to go through 3 angry Scotsmen and the most dominating superstar in the game right now." And then Gallus attack Oba. Lee gets in the ring to make the save, and then Gallus overwhelms him with both. Joe lays out Oba with a discus clothesline, and then Mark and Wolfie hit Wes with their tag team finisher. Joe says, "You can't do that to me."
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like, "What did you say? You can't? You couldn't?"
No.
Whoa.
No.
Whoa. I know
Enough.
that's an accent situation where you're saying
Enough.
can't, but it sounds dangerously
You gotta
close.
drop it. You got to drop it. I'm
I
telling
know
you
they
this.
Say that. Oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Wow. Joe said that, not me.
No,
All
you
right.
said that. You weren't.
Oh,
quoting
dude,
Joe.
what do you think about this? It looks like Mei Ying's coming back.
Yeah. So they have a video package for Wendy Chu, and it's like she's waking up because they got her brushing her teeth and all
Doesn't
that
have
stuff. And then she looks up in the mirror, and she had some makeup on.
Cool, weird eye makeup.
Yeah. And then this part I didn't exactly enjoy. They had the cheesy glass shatter transition. Just this week.
So, like, they did kind of a jump scare thing where she looks up into the mirror and you see the weird eyes and then the cheesy thing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool if they combine both Wendy Chu and Mei Ying. I think that'd be kind of cool. Like
that would be neat.
A Jekyll and Hyde type thing. That'd be rad. After that, we had Alexis King interview. He's bitching about the Dante Chen situation. Then Dante Chen attacks him. They're going to have another match at whatchamacallit.
That's a kendo stick match, too.
Yeah. Hopefully, Lexis King will get that win for all the Lex offenders out there.
Then we had a 6-woman tag match. Lash, Kalani Jordan, Fallon Henley taking on Mia Yim, Jada Parker, and Sol Ruka.
Sol Ruka, you run away from a guy with a knife, you rush a guy with a gun. My son did that.
The finish of this match was really awesome. So during about halfway through the match, maybe a little bit towards the end, JC Jane and Jasmine walked down the ramp and stand there and watch. Mm-hmm. So then Kalani Jordan hits Jada Parker with a stunner. Mm-hmm. Jada tags in Sol Ruka. Kalani tags in Fallon, so Fallon hits some offense. Then Sol hits her with a kick, misses a springboard splash. They hit each other with clotheslines. And Mia Yim and Jada both reach out to get tagged in. Well, Mia Yim then smacks Jada Parker on the behind.
Yeah.
She tumbles into the ring. They end up brawling.
Mm-hmm.
So Fallon tags in Lash. The ref's distracted by the brawl, so Lash and Fallon are hitting some double team offense on Sol Ruka. Well, Kalani Jordan gets in the ring to try to break that up. Fallon punches her. She turns around to punch Sol Ruka again. Sol Ruka ducks that, so Fallon punches Lash. Kalani then drops Fallon with a flatliner. Lash kicks Jordan out of the ring, and then Sol Ruka hits Lash with a Soul Snatcher for the win.
That's Snall Snatcher.
That whole finishing sequence is really good.
Snall Snatcher. The Soul Snatcher is really great. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, but it was really cool. They got some good talent there, man. So Ava's walking backstage. She's got the all ego contract. Stevie Turner walks in, says, facing Jordan wasn't really fair. And then Ava's like, oh, yeah, we'll talk about it later. Then we had an Eddie Thorpe video package. He's burning more stuff. And then we had the Ethan Page contract signing.
This was very long.
But and so like the whole idea is, and I like this. So Ethan Page talks about how great he is. Trick Williams comes out, and he's like, his basic thesis is, it took me forever back from the 2.0 days and tons of people in the locker room, a lot of time to get to where we are. We built this brand from the ground up, and you're just coming in here from another place thinking you can skip ahead to the head of the line. Mm-hmm. And so Ethan Page makes the case. He's like, look, dude, I respect you because you did something that I couldn't do. You were in somebody else's shadow. You decided to take matters in your own hands and put the spotlight on yourself. And that's what I'm looking to do here as well. So like we have that in common. And so he's like, listen, I've signed it. You've signed it. We just need the GM signature. And that's when Ava's like, whoa, Trick, I don't know if you want to do this or not. And he was like, Ava, just do it. And so she does it. So,
I mean, she did say that, or he said that in that contract is that he one stipulation is he get his first match as a title shot. But yeah, Ava made it seem like there was more to it that.
And he says this would be the end of the Whoop That era, but that would just mean that his title reign is over.
Yeah,
I would think
that he'd beat Trick.
What if every match Trick has is like a loser leaves town match?
Oof.
He's always on the verge of leaving NXT. Anyways, you want to answer some questions here?
Let's answer some questions.
All right.
It was a good segment, though. It was a good segment.
No, it was really good. Yeah, it was really good. It was good. Let's see here. That's a lot. Oh wow.
Eric,
Sean and Alistair voice says,
go ahead.
What moves like the RKO, Roderick Strong's back breakers and the Soul Snatcher, etc., would you hit out of nowhere? Bear hug out of nowhere.
Package pile driver out of nowhere.
My God, wow.
I know you do that.
Yeah.
Eric Elledge here says, if you could travel back in time to the 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s up to WrestleMania 1, so up to 1985, which decade would you go to for your wrestling action and why?
The 70s in the South. I do the Von Erich stuff, like late 70s, early 80s. I would do that.
Yeah, same.
Because it seems like they treated that shit like it was real.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back to like the late 60s, like the Bruno days, because it seems like it'd be boring as fuck.
Yeah. But you go to the territories like Florida, Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Yeah, with Dusty with Champ.
Lord Blake Whitehouse says, what were your plans B and C for your majors back in college? I didn't have any. It was filmmaking or die.
Yeah, I didn't really have a backup plan. In hindsight, if I didn't do that, I probably would have been a poli-sci major.
Mm-hmm. I would have done something equally as useless. Art.
Oh.
Yeah.
Disc Golfing Goon says, would Lexus King be the perfect first opponent for Joe Hendry if when he shows up in NXT? Yeah.
Would who? Wait, what?
Lexus King versus Joe Hendry.
Oh, yeah. That's
phenomenal.
Match made in heaven right there. Let's see here. AJ Otani says, if you were a general manager, would you rather have Stone or Kiana James as an assistant. This one's easy to me. It's Kiana James.
All right.
She has the credentials. She's already
that's true.
She's already been
accomplished in the business world. Yeah.
It's already been a success there. What about
That's true.
Stone? I don't know anything about that guy.
Yeah. Steve Klain asked, do you think another TNA star will show up at Battleground considering it's in Vegas? Apparently Brooks Jensen alluded to showing up at Impact.
You know they're doing that Brooks Jensen, right? It's the booty version of the Scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I can't see it any other way.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, he's just doing the Jack Perry thing, but Jack Perry actually does that really well.
He
does.
He does.
It's kind of crazy how well like he's come out of this. Like that promo he gave last week on, was it Collision, where he was in
the bathroom?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was really good.
That was really good.
It was good. Let's see here.
Oh, that was a great question from Timor. How far do you think you'd get if you attended Chase U?
Throw the U. Sad U. I'd make it happy
you?
you again. I'd make it happy you again.
All right. How far would you graduate? Has anybody actually successfully graduated from Chase U?
That Bodie guy did.
That's the way of looking at it.
Top. I'd go to the top. I'd go to the top.
Valedictorian.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%. Nikki Sturzu
but
says,
would you be the MVP? Would you take that MVP role from Duke?
At this point, yeah. He doesn't even want to go. He's like hanging out with Riley Osborne.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, here, let's answer this next question from Alex Foster. Outside of wrestling, what other instances is Riley Osborne just an utter pill? Take your pick.
Oh, everything. Yeah, everything. Yeah. You want to get popcorn for this movie? I don't like popcorn.
Well, what do you want to get?
That's you, actually. That's you. You don't like popcorn. Because it gets stuck in your teeth, right?
It gets stuck in my teeth. I'm not huge on it, no.
Yeah, I'm sort of getting to that point. Other ways that he's a bummer.
Maybe he doesn't re-rack his weights at the gym.
Ooh, yeah.
It's like, that's someone else's problem, not mine.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like he's more the kind of guy, he does re-rack, but then he'll walk over to somebody and be like, hey, I notice you're on your phone. You're here to work out. What the fuck?
Yeah, that could be.
What's this guy doing?
Or he's the guy that he'll go to the rack and notice like the 20s where the 30 should be and goes and puts them back.
Or he thinks that he knows who did it, and then he like goes and complains to management. I think he's just like a management complaining guy. Oh wow, Elemental Giant. This is the question: do you see NXT overtaking AEW in the ratings within the next few years? Throw it up for the U.
Only if Chase U is pushed to the top. This bothers me. My thumbs are all got markers all over.
Oh, dude, don't worry. We're about to be done.
Doc Hensler here says, Jordan Grace looks like she'd beat the ever-loving hell out of me. Is there any female wrestler that you would never want to pick a fight with?
None of them. Any of them. They're all
exactly. That's the correct answer.
They're all trained to beat ass, and I'm not. I'm trained to sit on my ass. Now, could I ball some of them up? Maybe, because we do 2 a week. I think I could ball some of them up. Not all of them. Lash Legend whooped my ass. 21-0.
Yeah.
But they could probably all kick my ass.
Absolutely.
On top of that, I'm not going to throw hands on a woman.
No.
You don't do that.
No.
I'm not saying that their punches are going to be all that strong. I'm just saying, I'm not going to, I'll probably lose that fight.
Gamer Realm said, this is an instant no, but I'll ask it anyways. Gamer Realm asked, do you think Austin Aries can make an NXT return? Absolutely not. Nope.
What?
Nope.
No.
No.
I don't even think I don't think he would want to. I don't think they would
wrestling anymore.
I don't know, man. I thought he was like pushing some supplements or something.
Oh dear.
I thought. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Didn't he wrestle for Control Your Narrative?
I think. Yeah. Oh yeah. I think wasn't he in like one of the Control Your Narrative's awkward room?
Yeah. That sounds right.
I think he was. Where is
there's
this
no
guy?
chance.
Is this him? Oh, I think. Okay, here he is. What's he doing lately? Oh, he grew his hair out. Yeah, what was he? Yeah, that's right. Oh, okay. I don't think it was supplements. He was like talking up like food, nutrition.
Ah.
Food fight. Where he had a book.
That sounds familiar.
Okay, so yeah, that was me. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, he was still doing. Oh, what is this? Oh, wow. Oh, here we go. Wow. He's got like a seminar. It's called the Healing Sessions because his last name is Healy. The Healing Sessions at the Mountain Muse Kava and Wellness in Florida. Join us for an evening of connecting with one another as we learn about the natural and powerful healing tools that we all can unlock within ourselves. Movement, breath work, meditation, and music. Some cool jams. It's only $11 per person.
But you have to go to Florida, Steve.
Yeah, you
That
get
costs
to go.
you money.
You get to go to Florida.
Yeah, have to go to Florida.
I don't know. You know what, man? Hopefully that dude is doing well. Who can look? I'm not gonna say anything bad about if he's teaching movement, breath work, and meditation, and some sick jams. I hope he's doing well.
All right.
I don't need him in my wrestling though.
Nope.
Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Be sure to hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Till next time, we'll see you guys later. Let's work on our meditation, Larson, and our heal. Let's work on our healing work here.
Do some breath work.